All right.
Got it.
Here we are with our next episode of Untapped. Hope everybody enjoyed the first one, and thanks for being patient with us as we find our way together with you along here. And we're real excited about what's ahead. I think the last podcast went pretty good, had a good reception for dropping the first live one. And maybe we'll just start out with some updates on how you doing out there in Florida, Levi.
Doing good. Had a pretty good week of training this week. Nothing, just basically the same thing I was doing in Arizona. I'm just doing it here. And then lifting's changed a little bit because it's like off season. So I've had to program a little bit different, but pretty much the same stuff. Training, eating, sleeping, and doing my school stuff a little bit.
Nice. And what do you do to keep your immune system up? Do you ever notice that when you're training super hard or different elements hit you, so maybe traveling and things, that you feel like you're battling your immune system a little bit?
Yeah, even when I flew from Arizona to here, I've been like a little bit congested. I think just from the flight, the change of like humidity to being out there, it's dry and stuff. So just dealing with that too, like pretty much knowing, okay, I need this, this, and this. I always think like for me, I eat a ton of vegetables and stuff like that when I'm not feeling great, almost like a cleanse. But other than when I'm feeling really good, I won't touch them that much. So just like forming my diet based on how I'm feeling. So if I'm feeling like, hey, I need more of this, then that's the route I go. And I think that's helped me, stay healthy and adapt. Like not just this is my diet and this is how it's got to be, doing it more off of, okay, I think I need this because of X, Y, and Z.
That's nice. And maybe we can get into a little bit on diet tips for people. So you kind of were touching on the importance of vegetables, and Dana here is a vegan, right? You're still rolling with that. For how long have you been doing that for? And maybe you got a little bit of insight or advice on building the immune system and the power of vegetables.
Yeah, man, 4+ years now. And I think that it's everyone's got the knowledge about veggies. I don't think it's anything to do with veganism that, it makes it any more special. Um, but as far as immune system goes, I actually just got sick this past week, finally with something besides COVID. And I don't know if I could have or what I could have done better to prevent that. But surely exercise for me, vegan or not, for anybody, I think exercise is going to be, number one to like get your body moving and get your lungs going and stuff like that. Because as soon as I started to feel a little bit better, it wasn't food that I was necessarily craving as much as it was like get outside, go on a hike, go for a lift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, everybody knows, eating your fair share and eating a balanced diet is just what's important, not diving in too crazy and being like, I need kale drinks and I need to be eating this amount of greens and all that kind of stuff. I've never really been like that. It's always been a good balance of carbs and fat and protein. So, yeah.
I love it. I think it's interesting because I've been dealing with a lot of immune system issues and around a lot of medical experts and researched a lot of gurus and read different books and things on the immune system. And probably for me, what I found is that maybe the most knowledgeable on the immune system is going to be an immunologist. They study the immune system. That's all they do. And they're usually working alongside hematologists in bone marrow transplant. So those, and then the patients that are battling aggressive blood cancer, they have to learn a lot about the immune system. They learn it to survive, to stay alive. And the most experienced immunologist that I came across, he was in his 70s, and he'd written some of the most studied books in the medical field for the immune system. And he said, you know what, it's kind of like the brain. We only understand really like 10 to 20% of the immune system. So we have every time I get online and I I tap into something or somebody, I get forwarded a lot of stuff. Oh, this will get rid of your cancer. This will help your immune system get rid of your cancer. And I tap in and I look at the website, and there's some guru there that is saying, oh, okay, this will boost your immune system, guaranteed to boost it. And there's always a selling point involved in there. Whenever I see that, I'm like, oh, okay, right. That's a little bit off there.
I think the biggest thing you can do is listen to what you feel like you want to eat. For me, like I would say 90% of the time I crave what I feel like I need. And maybe that's just years and years of like practicing that, but I truly feel like, okay, I'm sore, I need this, or I'm my mood is this. I feel like I need, X, Y, and Z based off of pure just how I feel. And I feel like that always leads me in the right direction.
I'm laughing because this is awesome, but I would probably say the three of us here, by the average person that thinks of what healthy eating is, would call us fanatics in terms of diet and eating. And I think that most people, and I've been at this point, I think we've all been here in our lives when we're not trying to train and function at such a high level, is that most people, if they ate what they wanted to, they're going to be eating ice cream and donuts. And unfortunately, we see how the appearance of people that fall into those habits. And I think that the whole perspective on food is just a very interesting topic, and how we perceive food. I think Levi said before, you perceive food more first as food and performance, right?
Right, for sure. If it's affecting like how I feel negatively, I don't really care how it tastes. I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I feel like I was having that discussion with my parents the other day, and they were kind of getting, well, we do eat pretty good, and I realized, hey, they do eat good for people their age and their culture and their community who they're around. And me, I allow myself to enjoy food maybe a couple times a week, where I'm actually enjoying and looking forward to the meal. Otherwise, it's fuel, get to the next step, fuel, get to the next step. What is the best thing for me to put into my body? I'm going to put some raw liver in there. I'm going to get it down. And one of the fortunate parts of that I have too is I lost taste and smell with the chemos maybe 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't have to suffer through any taste problems. But I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of it is on our perspective and our habits and what becomes our goals to us in terms of our diet.
Right, for sure. I just had a train of thought and I freaking forgot, and it was good.
I was gonna say too,
It'll come back.
One of the things I notice when I do train a bit harder for different workouts and stuff, like going for runs and stuff, my cravings definitely change a lot. They definitely, I think that's hard for a lot of people who don't understand dieting or just understand their body and stuff like that. If you up your training, your cravings are gonna go through the roof. And so you do have to make sure you prepare yourself well by going to the store and not buying any, snacks or anything, because you're going to be hungry no matter what. So that you're going to grab the quickest, closest thing, when you're starving because you just trained, 2-3 hours that day. So I think that's how people definitely end up, bad dieting, because they can't control their cravings and stuff, late night eating and whatnot.
Right. It's almost like I'm bored. I need to do this. Like I don't have anything else to do, so I might as well do this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've been there myself, especially if I get into these chemos where I gotta use a lot of marijuana and can't get my appetite, and then my appetite catches in, and then I can't stop. I'm like, okay, what can I put in here next? Getting stuff
I feel
in.
I remember what I was gonna say is, like, when you're craving quote unquote like something unhealthy or like a treat, I feel like a lot of times that could be because we've eaten so healthy for so long, like our body kind of needs those sugars of just almost like a extra little push. It's like that's not the main source of what we're getting. Like we're getting all these healthy foods, and there is probably a little benefit from eating those, like a unhealthy treat.
I could not. I agree so much with that, and it kind of goes back into tying into tips for the immune system. Is the very experienced immunologist will tell you that a moderate diet is going to be better than any other kind of diet. Of course, that's aside from fasting, and that's a whole nother that's a whole nother area. But I've really found for my body is for example, I've had 3 bone marrow transplants, and your white blood cells are produced out of your bone marrow. Your white blood cells are the number one, probably the number one part of your body. There's so much complexity to it, and organs and different things in your lymph nodes that fights off, they call them foreign invaders like bacteria, fungus, and things like that gets in our bloodstream. So we have cells that are produced in our blood throughout our body that comes from the bone marrow. So when we have a bone marrow transplant, they knock down your bone marrow to 0, so you have no immune system, and then they put a new immune system in there. So you get, sometimes what happens is the biggest threat actually is that new immune system doesn't know what to do yet. It's just fresh and new, kind of like a baby. It can kind of be correlated to newborn babies, but it's a little bit different, and it starts to get over revved. It becomes too strong at attacking foreign invaders. And one of the worst ways that people in hematology will say they've seen people go is that they might get a little something called graft versus host disease, where it goes to help your skin. Your skin is an organ, so it goes to help the organs in your body, goes to help your skin, and instead it ends up burning it, and the person will have 3rd-degree burns head to toe, and it's a really, really bad way to go. So my point in saying that is that, yeah, we can go one way, really strong and really coddle the immune system and live in a bubble, and that may be a short-term solution to not catch whatever virus is out there. But if we're going long-term, we got to push those limits and get out there and be, Dana mentioned he got sick. I think that's the sign of a healthy immune system. It shows that the body can fight. The body revved up. The immune system revs up when it's fighting sickness. So a person, we're living life and we push it. Our body drops naturally, and we're pushing those limits, and then we're going to be healthier than before after we got sick.
Right. Same thing. Like, you can relate that to working out. Like, you're essentially, when you're sore from working out, you're tearing the muscle, or that's what it is. You're these micro tears in the muscle. That's why you're sore. And then in order for them to get stronger and bigger, they, grow stronger, and then you tear them again. They grow. It's like a constant process of tearing and then repair, tear, repair, just like, anything.
It's so true. The most of the studies that I find on the immune system as it correlates to training is with Olympic athletes. There's going back with longer term studies going back in the last century, and there's studies on the white blood cells where the normal range is going to be about 4 to 10 in a measurement for white blood cells of a healthy normal range. And they found that Olympic athletes and also fighters in training camp will drop down to almost a 2 white blood cells, which shows your immune system is depleted and it's much more at risk of catching something. And you see that in fight camps and Olympic athletes. It's very important. They end up getting sick during training camp because they're pushing their body so hard.
Right. Yeah, I felt that before, where I'll get like a sore throat or something. I'm like, I'm on that line of like being too far.
Yeah, exactly. And we really wanted to try to give listeners kind of something to look forward to each week, that we would make a regular discussion. So I'm not sure if that might be diet, if it might be the immune system and whatnot, or training, but we definitely want to drop some exercises. So I'm not sure the best way to do that, but maybe Levi will have a little video or something of a routine of 3 exercises, maybe for an advanced professional athlete. What the latest is, Levi is, and I've studied exercise, and so is Dana. Dana's a high level exercise guy, and this has been my passion since a young age. It's just something that I've wanted to do since I was about 6-year-old. People get into cars or into art. I've always been into exercise. So I've always worked around it. Excuse me. And when I study all these people out there and listen to podcasts, after getting to know Levi, he's an amazing person to listen to on the very latest and the future of what people are doing for exercise routines. Oops. See here, something happened. You guys still there?
Yeah, you're good, bro.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see what Levi has to share for exercise. I mean, he could easily walk away from professional sports and become one of the top trainers in the world within the next couple of years. That's the amount that he's learned. He's been exercising. We got to post a picture of Levi when he's 12 years old. This guy's been exercising at a high athlete level since he was about 6 years old, and went to high school where it's basically the top high school, I think, in the world for professional athletes. So he has this just a plethora of knowledge to share into his routine. So I'd be really excited to see like a weekly thing where Levi could drop a few exercises for you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I would like to see that. Yeah.
I was thinking I wanted to do, okay, here's 3 exercises that a pro athlete does, but that you're able to do in like a commercial normal gym.
Yeah.
I like
where
that.
it's like, okay, you can train like a pro. You don't need to go to like all these big time places and pay all this money. If you have the knowledge, you can train like a pro in just a normal gym. You know, it might not be the best of the best of the best, but you can get pretty good work with like very limited stuff.
That's true. And there's some days where I'm feeling strong and I can hang in there just about with, not all the way, but I can hang in there with Levi for his workouts. And there's other days where it's a little bit of challenge for me just to get out of the chair. So I like to put together maybe a little bit of a beginner or a healing workout or something if you're trying to get started that's very basic, kind of in the same realm where you could be maybe at home or you could be at the gym.
Yeah, I've been doing with Taya that, because she'll work out with me sometimes, so I have to kind of simplify the exercise. So I'll do my variation, which is pretty complex, or it might be a single leg row where I'm like switching hands with the kettlebell, where I'll just make her do a normal or RDL with switching hands. I might make her just do a normal double leg RDL. So to do like, here's the advanced version, and here's kind of like a version if you've never trained, or like some of the movements are just too complex. You need like years and years of training to be able to do those movements.
Very true. I tried to do something. Levi set me up the other day. I'm pretty sure I was wrapped up in a couple bands, hanging from the squat rack upside down, trying to swing around 100-pound kettlebell or something like that. It's pretty complex.
Yeah,
it's true. Right on. And Mr. Dana, I think a lot of people would be really interested to hear some tips about how he's going to be very humble about this, I know, but he's become a very successful producer in podcasts. This isn't the only podcast he's worked on before. He started with I think that was your first podcast, the Timbo Sugar Show, which has become one of the biggest podcasts in the world. I mean, those guys have been on Rogan. Sugar Sean has become one of the most famous, and Tim and the coach, famous people, athletes and coach in the world. And Dana's also become very fast, rapidly growing for being in the music field in terms of a composer, DJ, musician. So maybe you have some tips every week to drop for people in one of those areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of similar to how you guys talk about, your eating habits and your workout habits. It's kind of a lot of a feeling thing. You don't necessarily have everything drawn out, and that's kind of how I've been able to manage working on music or just production. I've always just been interested in having a Mac and working everything that's on a MacBook, and that was video and that was music. And so for me, it was just, how can I make this a sustainable, happy lifestyle? Because the art avenue is not really necessarily guaranteed a job or high paying or anything like that. So I've always wanted a good work-life balance with working on anything that has to do with art or production. And really with that, it's just, you don't necessarily have to have a goal, but just staying consistent in working on these things. If I think everybody's goal, no matter what it is going to be to be the best or be the top of the game, right? So if we all have that same goal, then there's nothing that really differentiates us. And it's, for me, it's always just been having the mentality, be patient enough to see it all kind of pop off, and pop off. I mean, whatever that means to you. If you wanted to be a celebrity, if you wanted to be wealthy, or whatever it may be, it's like just being patient enough and being consistent in your craft. Not asking for anything, not saying this is how I want things to go. So I'm only going to do it this way. You know, reaching out to, you'd be surprised how many people want to help you. I mean, that's how I got Timbo Sugar Show. I just reached out to JX because I paid attention to the podcast and I noticed they were getting bigger. And I was like, maybe they need a little help. And I reached out to JX and just said, hey, man, this is who I am, kind of like resume format. This is what I've done. And if I could help in any way, let me know. I'm in Phoenix. And I mean, he responded in like less than 10 minutes, you know, it's like, I'll see you in 2 days. Can you help us fix this latency problem that we're having with the podcast? You know, and then Tim was like, hey, we'll do like a little 2-week kind of internship kind of thing, you know, and I was already interested in going to Jiu Jitsu. I remember one day just showing up to Jiu Jitsu and I was in the parking lot talking to my mom on the phone and he came out with a bunch of like UFC gear and stuff, came to the car, was like, hey bro, we'd love to have you on the team. You know, you're not like a weird guy or anything. You're a nice guy. And, you know, we'd love to have you around for the podcast. And that's just kind of how that, you know, snowballed. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. I didn't, you know, have to, I just was being, I think that's one of the biggest things is just being yourself and being nice always. Being nice to everybody that you know, come around as far as art goes, as far as, you know, trying to be in the music scene or, you know, podcast production and stuff like that. You know, you're around, in the case of Timbo Sugar Show, you're around some celebrities who come in there. You're around, obviously, Sean. You wanna not act a certain way, but you know, kind of, you want to be as cool cucumber as you can, you know, and
You don't want to be a jackass.
yeah, you certainly don't want to be a jackass. And I think that just kind of has applied to music too. Is just, you know, you meet somebody, you let them know kind of who you are, and you don't overstep your boundaries, and you know, maybe they'll remember you. But as far as music production, and podcasting, it's always just be consistent. Always want to be a little bit better, but keep a good work-life balance. You know, I have a job outside of, you know, music and podcasting, so which ties into music in a way. So not in a way, I work for a band as well. Well, a band's company, a merch company, and yeah, it's just, that's the message really with anything to do with production and stuff like that. It's just be consistent, be really consistent and show up, and yeah, that's the best I can give to you.
That's beautiful. And you use Ableton, right?
Yeah, as far as music production goes, I mean, you know, giving tips and stuff like that, going forward, yeah, I mean, Ableton is the interface that I use. Adobe Premiere products are the best products in my opinion. That's what I use for, you know, Photoshop and video, and yeah, the same message applies. Just be consistent with those things. Everything you need already exists in there. You don't need to go out and buy anything else. Those programs got everything you need inside of them, you know.
Levi's got something over there.
I think just like he was saying, whatever you're doing, like if you're in the right place if you're in the right place with good intentions, like good things are going to happen. It's just, as long as you're patient and see it out, then you're going to be in a good spot because something's going to bloom out of that flower.
So Dana, we were saying Dana's 24, and I was wondering how many hours would you estimate you put into Ableton? That's a software for probably the best one for music production. How many hours would you say you've put in before and now in your life to master it?
Ooh, what's the 10,000 hours? I'm past that for sure.
Yeah, I figured
I'm
so.
I'm past that. I've been working in Ableton since I was 17. So yeah, I'm well past that. As far as hours in a day, you know, I always just make sure that my responsibilities are done first, because I did have a, you know, I think probably we all have a stage in our life when something just, you know, it just has our entire, you know, being. And you know, I should have been working more on schoolwork, and I was spending probably, you know, 6 to 8 hours working on music production. Nowadays, you know, you have to keep in mind, like, you know, good sleep habits. So it's like making sure, you know, my life's on a computer, basically making sure I'm not looking at my screen 2 hours before I go to bed, because it does make a huge difference. Like if I'm looking at my phone or looking at my computer before bed, man, I just don't have a good night of sleep. So I try to limit it to like 2 hours of really focused work. Andrew Huberman talks a lot about like these focus periods that we have, like 90 minute focus bouts, 45 minutes to 90 minutes. And I have a timer on my computer that goes off every 30 minutes to just stand up. And that keeps me on track. And that says, all right, well, you only have 30 minutes in this program to maximize your time. And so now I'm very sort of militant with my time inside the inside of Ableton.
Nice. And man, that's so true. Is the when you become I guess successful would be a right word. I try to avoid that word, but that's a success in a great area. You definitely become successful there. Is the It's not something you can just step into and catch, in a couple days or even a year. Like you said, he's past that 10,000 hour point. And as I'm sitting here looking at Levi, man, look at this guy. If you're listening on your audio, you got to tap in and give a look at Levi. This guy is just an incredible human being. Just look how he looks when the sunglasses are. I'm wondering why you're wearing sunglasses. Was there something that's happening to training possibly? I don't know.
No, I'm good to go. I bought these at the gas station, like messing with Tay, and I was like, I'm gonna wear them during the podcast.
Dude, you look cool. You gotta leave them. It's a great look, man. It's a great look. I think it's fun to watch. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Kind of like if you look at Sugar Sean when he started and the way that he looked versus the way he looked now, he's really branded himself into just an awesome figure to look at. And thinking about that amount of time you put in to become successful. I mean, we haven't even talked much. Levi is a freaking Major League Baseball player for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Only just turned 23 years old. And how many hours do you think you put in? And what's some things that you dealt with in terms of becoming that level of pro athlete?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine the amount of hours, but I feel like I've been training to be a pro since I was probably like 8 years old. Like since I was 8 years old until now, it's always been like you're gonna be a pro, and that's it. Like you're gonna be a pro athlete, and there's no other like school or anything like that, or like a normal job. Never even like crossed my mind. So from 8 all the way until now, it's been like basically athlete before anything. So it's always I've been training basically every day, but Saturday and Sunday, or probably 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week since I was 8 years old. So I don't really even like I don't know any different other than just this. I'm constantly working on my craft.
It's incredible. Levi just finished a surgery, a pretty big deal type of surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome, and I think you're maybe 3 months recovered from that now.
Yeah, it's probably been like 16 weeks or maybe like 18 weeks.
And that was just a fascinating process. I got to be around for a lot of that. But when you think about what it takes these days to become a professional athlete and all the money that's the stakes that are involved, your international impact and everything is nowadays you have to start at that young age and have to almost have people behind you that are dedicated to you becoming a professional athlete. And you think about how many times Levi whipped his arm around to throw a pitch, and now you're seeing it's becoming very common for basically the shoulders or mechanisms in the body that you had to do thousands and thousands of time to become a pro athlete. But what was amazing to me is to watch Levi come back from that surgery when he had doctors and physical therapists telling him, hey, you gotta kick back, just take it easy for a while.
For me, it was like I worked so hard for to be in the condition that I am, that I'm not gonna let this this surgery or whatever get in the way and get me out of shape. I'm not gonna sit there and just dwell in it. It's like, okay, my arm's compromised, I can't use this, but I can still use everything else. Like rather than stay at home, oh my shoulder, I need take all these pain pills, this, that, and the other because I'm hurt. It's like, yeah, it hurts a little bit, but me sitting here and just, oh, my shoulder, that's not going to make it feel any better. So for me, I always felt better once I got moving around, a little sweat, not stressing the shoulder, but still, I can still stress my legs. I can go on a walk, I can go on a hike. I'm not going to fall. I'm going to be, cautious, obviously, but there's still things I can do. And I think most people don't have that mindset. They almost want to dwell in, the sickness or the injury or whatever it may be. Like with you, you said like cancer, a lot of cancer patients, when you see them kind of go downhill, it's because they're, oh, I'm sick, they kind of go under a rock, and then that's when things start going down. It's the same way with athletes, like with an injury and stuff like that.
Man, that's something. It's like we were talking about the immune system and things, and we hear it all the time how important it is to move, but definitely it's so true. I watched Levi being a living example of his immune system working to heal himself, all that his body went through in that surgery. He had a rib removed in that surgery. That's a huge thing. The body has to really adapt and adjust. And as I study my own body and see other cancer patients, you think the immune system, one of the components is your lymph nodes. My kind of cancer is lymphoma, so the cancer gets into the lymph nodes, and we have around 500 lymph nodes throughout our body, and they're part of our blood cells, are in our blood, and they're the primary filters of the bacteria that comes through and things. So you have all of these little nodes, tiny little nodes in your body, and if you think about if they're just sitting there and not moving at all, it's a lot harder for them to remove that bacteria and to get our blood flowing. So it's one example of that, the more you're sitting and not moving, your immune system is not working as well. You're not going to heal as well, let alone feel as well. There's just so many components to the importance of moving the body. I every day I take a little massage and I go all over my body over art of recovery, and we do cold plunges that really simulate the lymph nodes. But all of that stuff is just, I hope we can get that message out, how important it is to test those limits and to Untapped, instead of, oh no, I feel a little sick today, or I feel down, I feel stressed out, I messed up on my diet again, and I'm just doing horrible. Instead, get up, move, to do something to get your body moving, and then reinvestigate and confront those thoughts that you're having.
Right. People almost like question, hold on, I'm gonna take a drink for what? They almost question me with the arm thing, like, oh man, we're so sorry, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't understand it. And it's almost like everybody expected me to be like hurt or down. And I was just like, dude, this is no thing. It's gonna be a couple weeks and I'm gonna be good to go.
And that was a couple weeks and he's good to go. I wonder if there's anybody in the world that came back from a surgery that quickly. I think you had even kind of known some other people that had that surgery where they're still kind of recovering from it several months later.
Yeah, and I think from a throwing standpoint, it probably takes a little bit longer. I was fortunate where the season was just over, so I didn't have to build up. But from a rehab and stuff, the rehab was super simple. And once I understood the concept, it was almost like, okay, I understand what we're doing here. I wrap my brain around like what I need to get moving, what is compromised and what needs to be fixed. So once I kind of dove in from like my health and health and fitness mindset, it was like I get what happened, what they did in the surgery, and I understand what I need to do to get that moving again. And once I did that, I was like, this is easy. And the doctor even said like the rehab is going to be, it's pretty simple. Like you could do it on your own, but luckily I didn't have to. I had the help of the team and stuff like that, which helped. But it was a pretty simple rehab for me, at least. I think probably because I understand the way the body moves and stuff.
That's beautiful. And earlier Dana had mentioned Tim Welch helping him kind of get a start on the Timbo Sugar Show. really recommend giving Tim. He's got a podcast called the Red Hawk Recap, and Tim's a really interesting guy. He's been a great encouragement. I think that he's been a huge figure in us even doing this podcast and getting together and training jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And I'm really grateful to Tim and Sean. And I forgot, lost my train of thought here. maybe somebody can talk a little bit about Tim. He's kind of like this figure to me. I've never really, since I've been battling cancer, I really eliminated, I would say, fear from my mind, where it'll kind of nip at my heels. I get bad news and I have to confront thoughts of, oh, this might be it for me. And the root of it, I might, the boys won't have their dad and Ara won't have her husband and things like that. But I never really struggled with fear, even in jiu-jitsu, and I get in matches if I'm really sick or whatever. But something about Tim makes me a little uneasy when I've known him. I'm kind of, I don't know this. I don't know about this guy right here. And it's amazing to watch. And when I say that in a positive way, but it's amazing to watch. He is just a genius, an elite genius in coaching in the most difficult, what I think is the ultimate set of fighting, the UFC. He's an MMA coach, he's a high level jiu-jitsu coach, and he's just eccentrically good in that area. And he's also one of the most generous guys. It's that combination, I think, sometimes of somebody who's just has to be at such a high level, almost that alpha level, that they also have a very soft side. So I just wanted to give a shout out, I guess, to Tim and say that we're really grateful for him.
Yeah, me and Taya were actually talking about this earlier. She was like, we were talking about, during COVID and kind of when I started watching their podcast and got connected through Brandon and stuff like that. She was like, you were like a fan back then, and now you train with them, this, that. And I was like, yeah, a bunch of my buddies used to give me shit for being like a fan or whatever. It's like, but why wouldn't you be a fan of those guys? You see the trajectory of their life going this way. So it's like, I'm going to, analyze these guys and try and learn. They're doing something right, or their life wouldn't be going in that trajectory. So just taking, bits and pieces from people that their lives are going on the incline. I think that's something that everyone should do. Be a fan of people that are succeeding because you can learn from them.
Oh, good word. Man, that's beautiful.
I was actually, previous to getting on the pod or anything like that, I was subscribed to their Patreon for like months. That's how I like had a better insight of like knowing now, like, oh, okay, well, this is starting to go up a little bit. Maybe they'll need a little help. So yeah, I mean, I think people forget too that they're young guys, and like it's really easy to see how eager they are for knowledge and stuff like that. And I think that if you're the type of person like us, it's easy to see that because we like that. Like we're eager to read a book and figure it out. You don't have to read the whole book, just take a little message out of it and go. And like those are the type of guys they are.
I think the biggest thing I learned from Tim was exactly what I like. Why I listened to Tim was Tim looks at people's lives and he sees the trajectory they're going on and he learns from them. I think Chael Sonnen talked about that. It was like Tim's always staying after class and wanting to talk about this, that, and the other, what position is correct, or where he should move from here, or where he should move from there. I forget what I was saying, but basically like Tim's always looking for knowledge, and that's the biggest thing I took from him was like, have your ears open, for everything, and just kind of keep your mouth shut and listen. You don't have the quote unquote, we talked about this before, like the white belt mentality where your ears are open, your mouth is shut, and you're just taking in knowledge, whether you like it or not. Like take the stuff that you like and then throw the rest out, and continue to do that throughout your life. And I think you'll be in a good spot.
So true. And as big as their podcast is, the Timbo Sugar Show just had Logan Paul on the podcast. I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to that one yet, but it's kind of funny because he started the podcast off. The very first thing he said was basically, what the heck is this place? It looks like a renovated haunted house. The place, I'm talking about the place when you enter our gym, where we have the recharge center, the Art of Recovery. We have it's the old Arrowhead Mall. It was used to be the biggest mall in like the Phoenix, Northwest Phoenix area. So Logan Paul, would you say is one of the most famous social media personalities now?
Yeah, he's up there for
easily.
Sure.
He's walks into our place, and the first thing he saw is it. He's like, "What the heck is this?" Where Sugar Sean, Sugar and Tim, some of the most successful athletes and internet personalities in the world are in this place, and kind of commented that our gym kind of smelled and things like that. And I was thinking it's so awesome that Tim and Sean, it's like I think of, I don't know if you guys seen the movie Rocky 3, where the analogy of you got Clubber Lane, Mr. T. He's training in this gritty gym. He's doing pull-ups on pipes, and he's just really, really primitive conditions. And you got Rocky. He's like a carnival, and he's dancing and his training and stuff like that. And I just love that Sean and Tim have chosen this place where it's kind of rough when you walk in on the outside, but the other thing that Logan Paul had said is that it's kind of like a group of badasses in there, combat badassery, I think he said. I like that part of it, but it's just amazing that these guys are just connecting their worldwide impact that they're having right now. And he was there to talk about the Jake Paul Anderson Silva fight last night, so maybe you guys got some words on that.
Yeah, one thing on the gym first is like, I think Tim and them, like, they know what matters, and all the bling and this, that, and the other, like, that's Sean's character, but the gym doesn't need to be all, whatever. It's like we got what we need, and it's the work that we put in this area that's gonna matter.
Truth. That's truth.
And then on the fight, yeah, I like the old school, like, let's, it's not like pretty boy.
Yeah, we got diehard. If you walk into that gym, it's like walking into the old Arnold Schwarzenegger gyms in the 1970s. The machines are the same, and they're producing world champions. So there might be something to that kind of culture.
Right. Yeah. For me, that was like, baseball is very kind of pretty boyish, which is fine, but that's part of the reason why I like that. It's like the old school, like, let's get after it.
100%. And then we got Jake Paul, Anderson Silva, Jake Paul defeating Anderson Silva last night, knocking him down. I'm curious to hear what Dana's such a good fight analyst. He could take over Ariel's job in a second if he wanted to.
Nah, I didn't watch it. I'm somewhat interested in it all. But yeah, no, I didn't watch it because I'm waiting till I kind of, dude, Jake's no joke. He trains really hard, and I think it's easy to see he trains hard. I don't know what all the hate is for. I guess maybe just because he is fighting, lower quality fighters, boxers, whatever it may be. But doesn't really matter. I don't think that was ever his intention, like, oh, let me be the greatest boxer ever. Maybe he said it as a joke, but I think he's just trying to get out there and have some fun and do it on a big stage. And he's doing that right now, so I'll be eager to see when he does fight a boxer or whatever. And like, I'm not putting that on him saying that he needs to do that, but I mean, once that comes, I think that that'll be really interesting. So but I did see the clip of him knocking Silva down in the 8th round, and he looked sharp when he did it, for sure.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good.
The naysayers have fallen off. I couldn't help but I kept thinking about Levi there, and that you had people saying from the beginning with Jake Paul, how ridiculous, boxing, he doesn't know what he's doing. And it's not like the guys he has defeated are horrible. They're high level, well experienced fighters, and he's putting his life on the line. He's putting in it, and it shows. If you want to achieve something, I think he started training 3 or 4 years ago. If you want to achieve something and you put the work in, and you're dedicated to just your whole life of recovery, and you have he was a wrestler before, he has a strong athletic background, and you're young still, the sky's the limit. You can achieve anything you wanted to. You have imagine the amount of laughter, or the stuff that Levi might hear at the baseball field if he ever mentioned, hey, I want to be a top level jiu-jitsu, or I want to be a high level UFC athlete. Those same people that are scoffing are, you know, the ones that were scoffing at Jake Paul are eating their words now.
Yeah. I think Jake is just like, the people, they hate him because he's kind of, I wouldn't say like humbling, but I think a lot of the fighters, or like the I don't know, just the I guess, yeah, fighters is the right term. Um, they're like, how is he doing it? They can't fathom how he's doing it because of the debt. Like they can't fathom themselves putting that type of dedication and stuff in. So they can't even wrap their head around it. So it's got to, like Andrew Tate says, like people always say they see me driving a Bugatti and they already know like you did something sketchy, because there's no way you did it the right way and still achieve these goals. So I think that's where the hate's coming from, is all these guys are like, there's no way I could do that. So he's got to be, you know, this has got to be rigged, or this has got to be whatever, because they couldn't see themselves ever putting in the amount of work that he has. And I think it's obviously paying off, and he's showing a lot of people, you know, that he's for real.
That's like rationalizing a person's own laziness, their own personal
Right.
laziness. And I struggle with that a lot, is to try to be encouraging to all people. But you know, it gets tough when you're trying to move ahead in your life and you have huge dreams and goals, and the people that are around you, you know, you can kind of feel it. They're like, oh, don't do that, you might get hurt, or, you know, because they're trying to rationalize those goals, and where to draw some of those boundaries where I just don't, hey, get out of here, you know, and be mean back to them, but to try to hit a boundary and try to still move forward and have those. I think Levi said a lot of times, he talked about character last time, is that a lot of times our character is a parallel with the 5 people around you. So those are some important things. How are we doing on time, Mr. Dana?
We're doing good. Yeah, we're doing all right.
I got more. People at the field, just people all around in my life, like are always they're trying to have input on what I'm doing, or which rightfully so. Like everybody has their opinion on what I'm doing, my training, this, that, and the other. And I look at a lot of these, you know, people, and I'm like, I don't want to end up in your, like, where you're at. Like, I don't want to end up in your shoes. So why would I, you know, if you're not in a spot that I admire or look up to, or you're not a person that I'm like, you got something going on, like I don't really want to hear it, because you got, like, you're in your position for a reason. And if I don't want to be in that same position, why would I listen to what, you know, what I'm doing is so crazy or whatever? You know, it should probably, because I don't want to end up to be like that. So yeah, it should probably be crazy to you. Does that make sense what I was saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, beautiful. No, that's so true. That's wise words. I
You're
think
gonna have to
everybody.
clean that up a little bit, Dana.
No, you sounded way better than you think you did. It's a tough thing to explain sometimes when explaining. I think I've been thinking a lot this week about relationships with people, or relationships in our life. And I think it's something that I love to discuss. And I think especially guys, I like hearing some of these podcasts, these guys, when the Impulsive Show or Timbo Sugar, when they kind of talk about relationships, because I think it's an important thing where so many of us, we've all been hurt deeply in relationships, whether if it's with you know, in a love type of relationship, or if it's a family member, or if it's a friend. And I've been thinking a lot about this story real quick. Is that most people are familiar with the Last Supper, where you have the disciples of Jesus sitting around Jesus, and that's called the Last Supper because that's their last little time together before Jesus moved ahead and carried the cross and was beat, and you know, he died on the cross. This is the story, and you know, from the Bible, is that he died on the cross to save us from sin and become God. And in that process, and sitting around at that table, they were breaking bread, and he said, "One of us here is going to betray me." And you imagine that you're about to walk into just being tortured, the most difficult thing any human person has been put through. and you have the element of somebody in your family, your closest person that you trusted, you were fighting life and death to, has hurt you, has gone against you. I see that reflection maybe if you're in a trusted relationship and that person hurts you, you have these deep problems that it just really hits your stress, impacts your immune system and everything. And one thing that stands out to me in that story, and I think it's such a healthy action that I try to remember always, is as they were leaving that supper, they sang psalms. So, and I highly recommend, I kind of talked about last week, is if you're ever having problems with a relationship or emotion, find the Bible, go into a Bible app or something and check out the Psalms and just read through one of those. Imagine them singing these Psalms. Like most of them are kind of in the thread of, this is the worst. I've been crushed. I've been hurt. My heart's been broken. But you know what? I'm gonna sing, and I imagine Jesus. He's a smiling guy, and he's saying, and I'm gonna give you praise. This is the day. This is the greatest day ever that God has made. No matter what, I'm gonna keep joy in this right here. And I challenge anybody this week, if you're having a tough time or you hit a little downtime, to just pop into a Psalms and think about that as a release, whether no matter what you believe, is something that I'm just going to take that action to, hey, somebody else has felt this too, and I'm just going to give God praise and see and investigate how you feel after that.
Right.
Do you think it's important to sort of have, your, what do I want to say? Like, know what you're about in order to kind of be able to give that praise up? Because I think it's really hard for people probably to just kind of say, I'm going to let this go and, whatever, because they're very attached to whatever scenario that you're kind of speaking on, and they don't want to let it go and just, let that person, win, or whatever the case may be, let the situation win.
Good word.
Don't you think it's important probably for you to have like, all right, well, this is who I am, so I am okay with letting go, because I think people's words carry a lot of weight, especially nowadays. And it kind of what Levi was saying about having family or friends or whatever come and have an input on, it's almost like not okay to even hear what people's input are, because it really will affect the way you think about things, and it is hard to let it go.
Right.
So yeah, in some light, yeah, you do have to, I think, prepare yourself to be able to let go, and it's hard to just do that if you're not already, eating, sleeping, or getting good exercise.
No, I really think that's true. I kind of see it as, related to the immune system. You might have a temporary issue. You might eat some soup and some electrolytes when you're sick, but what does that make you feel good for a little bit, but then you're back to feeling kind of crummy again? Is that kind of kind of a correlation of what you're saying? And
yeah,
I kind of
for
think
sure.
that I found myself where when I'm in that kind of situation with a relationship where it's just I gotta try to let go, but my body, I'm not quite ready at that place yet to completely let go. It's not just going to happen overnight. I find myself a lot of times in these thought patterns of just not a good thinking, where I just can't get it out of my mind, where I'm just, oh, this sucks, this is a horrible feeling, it's an overwhelming feeling. And I think that kind of like having that chicken noodle soup, that Psalms is a thing where I can go to it and I can get that mindset. And I feel like the more that I eat that chicken noodle soup, the more it shakes me out of those things, and thus helps me with the long-term health. If I can keep that habit of that going, where, it's not just a one time, then everything goes away. I think that's a good point. That's a strong point.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. That's
I
fire.
think too, like, knowing you have, like, you're not in it alone. Like, you have like your whatever your higher power is, you have that to lean on, and you're not in, you've got somebody by your side where you can kind of go and step away from the situation and talk to or pray to, or whatever you believe in. you can use that as almost a crutch to get you through the situation.
It's so humbling to it's such a tough thing to reach out. I really struggle with that, and I wouldn't be alive if I didn't do it. I believe that, at least, is to reach out and say, hey, I'm doing pretty bad right now. I'm pretty sick.
Right.
I'm struggling. And it's interesting too that I've learned that and I still really struggle with this, is when I'm really in a bad spot, like, man, I don't want to go to this chemo. I know I'm going to go through here. I already feel so horrible, and I got to go to this chemo tomorrow. And I'm not doing good right now. I want to just end it. Why am I going through this again? That kind of mode. And to know that at that time that I could reach out to somebody just with a little text, hey man, I'm struggling. Could you send me some prayer? Could you maybe send me a quick good word, or maybe just come over and see me for a second, or something like that. And I noticed that as soon as when I send that out, I already start feeling better. It's that act of just kind of getting myself to reach out and kind of let go. And I realize how unhealthy it is to hold on to that. It's a pride that I struggle with, is, I don't want to bother somebody with this. And, I'm just going to go through this and suffer on my own here. And instead, it's holding back somebody from a blessing or from a benefit themselves, as we were talking about last week. Is that I think one of the best ways to turn yourself around is to reach out and help somebody. Somebody else gets the opportunity to help you and feel really good themselves. And if it's really truly a good person, unfortunately, there's some that aren't like that, and there's some are. That's going to give them, you're going to feel better, and they're going to feel better from it.
Right. I think as like prayer is almost like you're journaling to God. Like you're getting whatever you have to get out. That's always there. You don't need a pen and paper to just, write whatever. You can step aside and go give praise, and that's almost the same concept.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
We are getting tight on time here.
Right on. I love that too. You mentioned journaling. I think writing has been just some of the best therapy, is just to write out my experience, is just, to be able to write that and think deeply and reflect on those things has been a really, really healthy, powerful tool. And I know we're just about on time. You guys got anything else today?
Good to go.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
That was a blast. I'm loving these, and I hope we just keep getting better for everybody listening out there. And we're so excited. We'd love to hear feedback on what you guys would like to hear, what you'd like to see more or less of. So thanks everybody for watching. Much love.
Thanks, guys.